Tonight we have three diverse female directors, each one of them kicking goals. Following that, we have the pleasure of meeting SHESHOT Lamberg, director of Innuendo, and a woman who pushes every boundary imaginable. Stay tuned. Welcome back to SHESHOT TV. In the studio we have SHESHOT Lamberg, a Finnish director residing in Australia who has made some incredible inroads within this industry. Welcome, Sarah. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
What draws you to directing?
I think it's the ability to tell stories and to have the kind of holistic approach to filmmaking. Yeah, you're essentially a creator of a world, and it's like you get to play again as an adult, and that is for me the most important thing about it, and that's what's attractive about it.
Innuendo was completed on a micro budget. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I wrote Innuendo back in 2013, and at the time I was writing quite a few features and sending them out to various competitions, and just to receive some feedback on your text, because it's very difficult to get honest feedback from friends, even colleagues sometimes. So to send them out to competitions where you get feedback is a great way to do that. And this particular one didn't come back with a feedback. It came back with a bronze award from the Beverly Hills Screenplay Contest.
Fantastic.
So I thought, well, I guess that's enough of feedback. I should really pursue this particular story and this particular screenplay. And I gave myself a year to find a producer. I wanted to give it that opportunity to perhaps become a majorly funded film. And in that year I found a lot of interest because of the win, but not enough commitment for my liking. I realized it was going to be years and years before it was going to go anywhere. So then I just took the matter on my own hands and just made out and did it. And because I am the writer, director, producer and the main actor in it, that sort of cuts the costs quite a lot.
Sure.
So I did a crowdfunding campaign, and apart from that, it's just my own money.
Okay, well, how did you come up with the concept for Innuendo?
Oh, that's always a difficult question. It's a combination of characters that I've known in my lifetime. There's certainly influences from real life. It's certainly not a true story. And when you see the film, you know that's a good thing.
Yes.
But you know, where any stories come from, it's a tricky question, and we could take 5 hours talking about that. So let's not go there. It's just from the weird depths of my mind, I guess.
Well, how long did it take for you to complete from start to finish? So from that first moment where you had an idea to the final product in post-production where it was delivered in your hand as a DCP, how long did that take?
That would be about 4 years, but there was time in between.
Sure.
The usual shooting period was 40 days. That's quite normal. I actually wrote it really fast. When I first wrote it, that took me 4 days, which I'm supposed to not tell anyone, apparently.
No, but that's amazing. Some people could take years, but 4 days, get it out there. If that's how you work, and that's how you work.
I'm not saying that there weren't changes to that first draft. Of course there were. But I always say just put your first draft on the paper, get it out there as quickly as possible, and then work on it. But yeah, in those 4 years, I think actively we would have worked on it for 2 years.
Sure. Now you write, direct, produce, and in this instance you also acted in it. Now, how is that experience? What is that really like? It's
complicated. It's very complex. But I think that fits well with me as a person. I'm very ambitious, and I also like being able to keep the creative control. And as much as it's a lot of work, and I can't recommend it to anyone, it just means that you get to make whatever the bleep you want, because I'm sure I can't say the F word on this program, can I? No, but you don't have to negotiate with anyone.
Yes.
You can just do whatever you want, and that's the beauty of wearing all those hats. And it's worth it at the end of the day. And I come from an actor's background. The reason I started writing and directing and producing was because I was very frustrated as an actor. I wasn't getting the roles I wanted. They just either weren't out there or they weren't out there for me.
So you created them.
Yeah, it comes from frustration.
Mm.
I think that's a
Yeah.
beautiful place to start from.
Let's take a look at the trailer for Innuendo.
And Dad never loved me. Not the way he loved you.
But you know what Dad did to me.
And yet he wouldn't touch me. What was wrong with me?
Great teaser. I definitely want to have a look at more.
Thank you.
Now, last year you took Innuendo to Los Angeles for the American film market. What was that experience like?
Very daunting. I'd never done anything like it before. I had attended the 37 South, which is the Melbourne version of the market, much, much smaller. So the scale was completely different here. If you can imagine a hotel, it's got 8 floors, and each floor is dedicated to selling films. So you've got production companies, sales agencies, distributors. Everyone is there, and you're there, a little producer with your film that you've just made, and you're all excited. You're like a little puppy with your tail wagging, and but it was really exciting at the same time. It wasn't scary once I got there. I think it's the preparation, because you don't really know where you're going. Of course, I asked for advice from people that had been there before, and I read all the advice of what you have to do beforehand, and I did all that, but you still don't really know what it's going to be like.
Well, how did they respond to Innuendo?
There was actually so much interest. I was very, very grateful how it went down, because obviously it's what we call a small film in the industry. I hate that word, but they say it all the time because we don't have any big stars, and it's independently made. So I didn't really know how that market that's so kind of commercially driven, how would that respond to my kind of film. But the interest that was out there was just magnificent. I got offers from various different sales agencies to start representing us in future markets. Yeah, I was just very, very happy that I did.
So one bit of advice that you'd give for people wanting to go to the film market as a producer or up and coming, what would that be?
Try and set up as many meetings beforehand as you can, either calling the companies or emailing them. Calling seems to be the best way to go. And before you attend, you get a whole list of companies that are going to be there. And yeah, just try and get as many meetings as you can. That's my best advice.
Well, I hear that you're casting at the moment for your next feature film. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So writing and casting, it's called Westmark Effect.
Yeah.
It's going to be another edgy film.
Good.
I'm afraid I don't really do them very family friendly. So this one tells the story of a mother that gave her son up for an adoption 20 years ago and goes to look for him, and the pair fall in love. So
how did you come up with that concept?
Again, very much not based in a true story, in my own life anyway.
Yes.
But they are out there, actually, couples like this. There's quite a few of them around the world, and you can do your Google search on it. I think it's just a fascinating concept, and I'm interested in stories that are unusual and really tap into psyche of a human being. Why do we do things that we do? What drives us to do them, and what do we all need, and how do we approach those needs differently?
And what kind of fundraising, or how are you going to raise the funds for this film?
Well, I'm always interested in hearing from people that would like to finance my films.
Yeah, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Sure. I'm very easy to be found in Facebook. So, for example, my previous film, Innuendo, that we've just seen a teaser of, you can find it on Facebook, just Innuendo Movie. Or you can find us via innuendomovie.com.
Yes.
My name is Sarah Lamberg. You can send me a Facebook message. I'm very approachable. Yeah.
Well, how do you nurture that relationship between a director and a producer? Because you're asking for producers to come on board and help. How would you nurture such a relationship?
I'm quite open for producers to come on board, and I think it's all in honest communication. I think as long as you have a good understanding of what you want to do with a film, you can work well together at the same time. I'm quite happy to produce this for myself again if that producer doesn't come forward, and I do understand that that's probably going to be the reality because my material is quite edgy, it is quite risky, and so far I haven't found anyone in this country willing to produce it apart from myself, and that's fine, you know, I'm happy to do it again.
Funding is on every indie filmmaker's lips. What advice would you give an indie filmmaker when it comes to trying to find some funding for their films?
Just be prepared to work very, very hard. Prepared to not have very much money, and just be prepared to be very nice to people so that you can get a lot of favours. That's the best way to make your films, really. Because there's not going to be much money out there. That's always going to be the reality. Unless you've already released 3 theatrical films, you can't get any public funding. It's either going to come out of your pocket from crowdfunding and in favours. That's basically it.
Thank you so much for being on SHESHOT TV tonight, Zara.
Thank you.
Next week, we meet 3 women making their way in a tough industry. You will meet extraordinary animators pushing artistic boundaries to bring you some really interesting and exciting works. Thanks to Channel 31 and Community Broadcasting Foundation for helping us make it to screen. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to let us know what you were thinking on all our social media. We love to hear from you. I'm Stella Dematis and you've been watching SHESHOT TV.